Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan, support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually just dropped a thought piece this Sunday, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on pretty much any podcast platform available. So for your listening leisure, we've provided some links down below, but definitely feel free to check us out anywhere you like to listen to a podcast. As is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô les mecs et les mecs. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is education. And on the topic of education, we're going to continue the conversation around intention and how intention is the capacity to leverage foresight to navigate scenarios, situations, circumstances, and people accordingly. And I made the argument that if we gave ourselves more credit, if we gave our intuition more credit, then there's a lot of situations that we can circumvent, that we can stay clear from just by being in alignment with ourselves. So that was pretty much the very quick argument that I made in our first video this week. And I want to continue the conversation because it's one thing to talk about abstractedly how intuition can serve you and provide you that 20/20 foresight to navigate and kind of sidestep some of those toxic and really unhealthy situations, or try to navigate away from painful experiences that we don't need to subject ourselves to. Not to say that every painful experience is something that we can avoid. I think that part of learning and growing is learning through some of the disappointments and some of the betrayals and some of the situations and the people that hurt us. And I think that once we've learned certain lessons, we don't need to learn them again. We don't need to learn the same lesson on repeat. And I think that with some exposure, your intuition is primed to give you the signals that you need to navigate away from those situations if they're coming up again. So we can break patterns of behavior, not just our own, but also our receptiveness to different patterns of behavior if we are more in attunement, in alignment with our intuition. But of course, there is a little bit more to it. I think that there are certain things that I can say as like hard, fast rules as a signal, just generally speaking, if your intuition has yet to be something that you activate, that you can recognize can be a red flag, right? So I think in this video around intention, I want to talk about specific red flags that I look out for. And I think that when I have this red flag, it's not necessarily even my intuition speaking. The situation is playing out on its own, right? So I already kind of have a lay of the land if any of these situations are taking place. And so I want to give you the 4 key flags that intention is most likely not in your favor. And of course, I could be wrong, but life and experience has taught me in most most cases, again, that in these specific scenarios, one of these situations or one of these flags comes up, then it's a strong signal that the intention of the person around you is not for you. So I'm gonna give you 3 of my top signals that the intention of the people around me are not intentions that serve me, they're meant to serve them. And so the first one is inferiority or superiority complex. I think if I'm talking to someone and I sense that I'm triggering insecurities, if I sense that they feel uncomfortable around me or they feel that they don't measure up to me in some way. And this is something that's easily detectable in the language that they use. Like if they're off-put by your experience, or if they feel intimidated by your background, or if they feel intimidated by the life experiences that you've had in contrast with their life experiences, if they make biting, offhanded remarks, even if they're offhanded, backhanded compliments, a lot of these things signal an inferiority complex. In the same vein, if someone is undermining or trying to diminish your accomplishments, trying to make it seem that your accomplishments aren't that big of a deal, those are also a signal of someone who is comparing themselves to you. And I think anyone who feels inclined to compare or to compete with you is someone who can't have the best intentions for you. So I think it's really important to evaluate and to assess that, especially when you're making new friends and building new connections. If there is any semblance of competition or comparison, for me, that is a priming factor being subject to someone's intention that isn't necessarily in alignment with what serves me best. I grew up in a very competitive household. I grew up to compete. I grew up, with this whole mindset around comparison that I've had to completely just walk away from. I've grown out of it. And so as a result of that, if I see that people are kind of still navigating within that mindset where they're constantly pitting themselves against other people rather than like celebrating their own journey, celebrating their own experiences, recognizing that we're not in a rat race, like we're not competing with one another. All of our journeys have the same value and significance for what it is that we're here to achieve, then I stay far and clear from that situation. For me, that's definitely a definite red flag of bad intention. Another one, which is very similar to competing and comparison, is envy. Someone who wants to be you, who wants to embody you. And I've said this in so many different videos, and I will say it again. Envy is something that's very dangerous because it's a person who is bitter and contemptuous and resentful towards you simply because you are you and they are not you. And that's very illogical. That's very irrational. There's no way to talk them off that ledge. If that's the reason why they hate you, if they hate you simply because you and being you is something that they admire, but they can't treat that admiration in a healthy way. And so instead, that admiration turns into kind of this toxic obsession. And as a result of that toxic obsession, because they can't embody or exemplify the characteristics that they admire, they want to take them away. That is someone who has no good intentions for you. And a lot of the times, these behaviors manifest in our frenemies, the people who want to get close to us, but they can't seem to treat us well. And how that translates is different for each person. I think each of us have our own experiences of having a frenemy, someone who can't seem to find it within themselves to be a good friend to you. And so I think because of that, because of the envy, because, they want to be close to you because they admire the specific traits and the qualities that are drawing them to you, but then it's a bitter pill for them because they want to be those specific things. These are people who will try to copy your style, who will try to take your lifestyle, take your friends, take everything, but then feel bitter because it's not the same effect because they can't be you. They can't be in your skin. But it doesn't mean that they won't try, but it definitely should mean that you won't let them, right? So I think anyone who kind of behaves this way, I think it's important that we recognize that it's just not a healthy behavior. It's not the kind of behavior we want to expose ourselves to. We don't want to make ourselves completely available to people who envy us or available at all because it's very, very toxic. A lot of the true crime episodes that many of us watch, probably too many of, are a result of the envy that we bypassed or that we dismissed or that we discredited until it was an imminent danger situation. So I think that we need to recognize the signals of danger before it becomes dangerous. Anyone who's competing, comparing, and envious of you, I think those are all breeding grounds for really, really negative intentions that we would want to circumvent at any costs, in my opinion. And so another clear-cut flag of a negative intention that I want to leave you with is someone who doesn't value you. And so I think that this is different because someone who doesn't see your value isn't someone who's comparing themselves against you necessarily. It's not someone who is competing with you, who is jealous of you. It's someone who just looks at you and doesn't like you or doesn't see value in what you do and in what you bring. So they decide that because of that, they're going to bring you down, right? So I think that someone who doesn't see value in you, who dismisses you and who just doesn't pay you any attention, like there's no issues there. But someone who doesn't value you, but then is still trying to create proximity so they can find a way to undermine you, to show other people that you don't have value. They want to like build a campaign around why other people should agree with their point of view on your lack of value. I mean, those people do not have positive intentions for you, clearly. And I say clearly, but a lot of the times this is so warped. It's such a warped objective to try to attain that when we experience these kinds of behaviors where we're being gaslit, like we feel like something is off, but like, you know, they're talking us out of it, or they're dismissing or diminishing some of the concerns that we bring up. And we recognize that there's like backbiting, there's gossiping, there's rumor spreading, but we're really not quite sure if it's valid or not because they're operating behind the scenes or being very, very subversive with their agenda. Then we don't recognize that they're really acting on their negative intention, and that negative intention is harming us. So a lot of smear campaigning, so a lot of people smear because they are jealous, because they compare, because they compete, and they find that they can't compete where they don't compare. A lot of it also takes place from people who truly, because of their own ego, because of their own issues or their own values or their own belief systems, like do not want to see your value, and they need other people to validate that belief. They need other people to believe that same thing, and they believe it, right? Like they vehemently believe that you don't have value, but they go out of their way, they spend resources, they spend a lot of energy trying to prove that to be true, despite the fact that reality is showing them differently. So someone who doesn't want to come to terms with reality, who wants to hold on to a belief that isn't translatable in reality based on different factors that, you know, people could easily kind of swap back and forth by way of like what valuable is and how it translates and what it means. All of us carry value in an objective way, but if someone can't even admit to the objective areas where you do bring value to a conversation, like that kind of hatred, that kind of just dissent is something I would stay very clear from. That's only going to breed very, very negative intentions. So I think that while there are many more flags that would signal to you that there are negative intentions at play, I think these are the most common ones. I think these are the ones that we ignore the most, that we dismiss the most, but have the most potential for harm. So I wanted to definitely put them on your radar. I wanted this to be the continuation of the first video that we put out on Friday. And I thank you so much for your patience. The schedule has been a little bit off this week, but it's going to go back to normal. But hopefully that's food for thought for you. In any case, that's it, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events. So if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops that largely focus on self-mastery over and above those events. So check it out. Be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we do invite you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.